Flipgrid gets a new name and logo, and we now call it Flip. It's also getting a new layout, a new camera, and a whole new user experience, and lots of new features. Edpuzzle has added an upload option to student projects so they can upload their own videos to projects that they're turning in for you. Screencast-O-Matic has added interactive quizzes and polls so that you could actually assess your students during your videos. Loom has added transcription to their free and all other versions, and Mote has unveiled Loops, which is a new feedback loop tool. Welcome into episode 7 of the EdTech News Brief. I'm your host, Jake Miller. This is the show where, as the title says, I tell you about the EdTech news and I keep it brief. And by brief, I mean clear, concise, and just what you need to know. Nothing more, nothing less. This is episode 7. It's July 12th-ish. I'm never sure how quickly I'm going to edit these things and get them out to you, but I do have some EdTech news to share with you today. So today's episode is actually coming to you from ISTE 2022 about a week or two ago in New Orleans, Louisiana. I recorded three live stream episodes of the EdTech News Brief along with my friends at the new EdTech Classroom. I'll make sure I put a link in the show notes and in the video episode here for the new EdTech Classroom's video channel and for those full live streams. If you're not familiar with the work that Sam Carey and Tom Gibson do on the new EdTech Classroom, you're definitely going to want to check that out. They hosted full, 4 or 5 hour live streams during ISTE each of the 3 days of the International Society for Technology and Education conference. Every day they hosted a 4-hour live stream, lots of different amazing interviews with authors and educators and all kinds of wonderful people in the educational technology space. Lots of great conversations happening. And I had the honor during the last half an hour of every day's episode to share the news that was coming out from the ISTE conference. So I'm honored also not just to be a part of it, but to get to air that here in the EdTech News Brief feed. So after this transition, we're going to time travel back about 2 weeks to June, 20th or something like that in New Orleans at ISTE, where I share with you the EdTech news from the heart of it all at ISTE. So here we go.
Yeah, we're excited to bring our final segment of our live stream today. If you joined us yesterday, you know that we actually have an episode of the EdTech News Brief at the end of every show today. And if you've never heard of the EdTech News Brief, first, it's by the same Jake Miller of the Educational Duct Tape podcast that perhaps you have heard. But his new podcast, he can't get enough EdTech, so he started another EdTech podcast that's hiding Sam over there. His new podcast is called the EdTech News Brief. And the first episode that I heard, I got so excited because, me and Sam, we do this full time. And even with us just, working to stay up to date on what is new and different and innovative and helpful in the world of EdTech that we can share with the community that we have online. It's so hard to keep up. And so when I found out, I'm like, Jake's going to be making a podcast every week that he's just going to hit 3 or 4 different updates that we need to know about. I'm like, he's doing the work for us. And so we got super excited about it. And so we are also excited that he has been running around ISTE this whole time, seeing what is new, what is different, what is innovative, what is helpful for you all, for educators, not only you at home, but just for the educators around the world in the world of EdTech. So with us today, we've got Mr. Jake Miller, ready to go, ready to share what is going on. Jake.
And I like that thing at the end there that I'm doing the running around and doing the work for you. I'm like the kid who studies for the test and everybody cheats off of them, right? That's me. I'm like, guys, I will study for the big chemistry test. You just show up and cheat off it. Not really. Don't do that. We don't want our students to do that. But I am going to help you do that with educational technology because it is, as Tom was alluding to, they're so tough to keep up with all the different changes that happen in educational technology. There's just so much going on. And for those of you watching from at home, which I assume most of you are since why would you be live streaming from here? But regardless, right next to us is the expo hall where there are thousands of different educational technology companies out there, and I can barely get through all of them to see what's going on. Worse yet, you guys, how would you do that without being here? Even if you were here, you wouldn't be able to keep up with it. So my goal is to do that work for you. And that's why I call it the EdTech News Brief, because it's what's the news in educational technology. And my goal is also to keep it brief because you don't have a lot of time. So we're going to keep it short. Here we'll do 20 to 30 minutes of what's happening here, what the news and updates are. And that's what I do on the podcast and on the YouTube show is give you guys those updates. So I'm going to dive right into what's going on here at ISTE, what the exciting news is. Some of it was announced over the last week or two. But a lot of the companies save up stuff for here at ISTE. So let's check out some of that stuff here. First, we have big news from Flipgrid. Last night was FlipFest, and as you can see there on my screen there, I've got an X over the word grid there. It is no longer Flipgrid. It's just Flip. Flipgrid is now Flip. They have changed their name and rebranded themselves to Flip. So last night was FlipFest here at ISTE. That's a yearly event that Flipgrid does to update us on the big news. And the biggest news of all is that they changed their name and changed their logo to what they're calling the Smubble here. Now, the kind of news I like to talk about on the EdTech News Brief or when I'm working with teachers is news that impacts what teachers are doing, news that benefits what we're doing with our students, news that helps us be pedagogically effective, news that helps our students learn and us assess them and do what we need to do. And a name change doesn't really matter all that much as long as we know what URL to go to. So that is one thing to know. Flipgrid, now you could find at flip.com. Flipgrid.com still redirects there. So that's a relatively minor change. It doesn't really impact the way we do our work, but it's interesting and exciting to hear about that change and that logo change. And for people like me and Sam and Tom who are always recording videos and building guides and blog posts and things like that to help teachers use technology. Now we get to change every slide deck that we have that has Flipgrid in it over it. So thank you to Charlie Miller and the Flip team for making that change for us. But let's talk about the changes that affect you in your classroom. So the big, I felt like, tone of last night at FlipFest was they're really trying to keep fostering this education community they have where educators are using Flip in their classrooms, but also evolve out of there to be almost like, they didn't say the words, but I'm going to say it for them, almost like a social media platform. They're really trying to be a community building thing. They see us using it for clubs and for groups and for outside of school endeavors and things like that. And they're saying, why don't we just start to focus the tool on that? So I think that's part of the reason for some of this rebrand change is they're trying to become Flip for community, not just Flip for schools. That's me adding that in, not their actual branding. But they're really trying to do this sharing and discovering bit and things like that here. So again, as I mentioned, they're now at flip.com. The old links redirect, at least for now they do. They're starting to work on changing the view that we see when we go into Flip. Now, this is not happening yet. This is all happening at some point in 2022. From when I've talked to them, they've said fall to late 2022, so probably not before the school year starts. But at some point in the future, we're going to start to see our view in Flip change as well. We'll see this new side menu when we're on our computer, so it won't be on the top, it'll be on the side. We'll see camera and our own videos first, and that's what we'll see, and that's also what our students will see. They're making it so that the student and teacher versions are pretty similar, and so that we can, but it'll know when you log in what kind of account you have. So students will see slightly different things, but the general view is the same, so it feels kind of unified. The way that going into another platform like your email or something like that feels the same for everybody, even though you have different content in there. This will be kind of similar to that too. So we see that side menu change. And again, this isn't happening yet, but at some point within the year, we'll see this side menu start to list all of our groups down the side over there. We can add groups. I love this as a teacher because I could really easily jump from my 4th period classes responses on something to my 5th period classes responses without a whole bunch of clicking. It's just right over there. I just jump into the group and it's right there. Now, what we're seeing there on that screen is the group feed. Now, here's what it looks like on your phone, but it also has a group feed feel on the web page too. And what that means is all of the videos in the order that they're happening are vertically stacked there on your page. So this first one in this breakdancing basics Flip group here, which I actually teach the breakdancing basics class. I'm a professional breakdancer. People do not know that about me. It's a little known fact. I carry a cardboard box everywhere I go in case I need to break dance. Not actually true. But in this class, that top video that you're seeing there is the most recent video. And if you go down below that, it's the one before that. And down below that, it's the one before that. Very Instagram or TikTok kind of feel to me. And I think that's great. They've found something that works outside of the schools. And what we know is our students respond well to that kind of stuff. So bring that kind of feel into an educational platform. Why not, right? So the home feed will be like that as well, both on mobile and on the computer, where you see the most recent video full screen and you scroll down and you see the next video and you scroll down, you see the next video. Again, very social media-like feel, except educationally focused. Now, I should point out while talking about this that my friends Joe and Kristen Merrill were on stage last night with a member of the Flip team to unveil that Flip is also working on some quality control with the videos and comments that are posted there. So I know a lot of teachers, when they hear that they're getting kind of social media-like with Flip, they get a little nervous. I'm like, what if our students do stuff that's inappropriate? They're putting a lot of automated filters in to flag videos that maybe have like a student putting up a middle finger or a student saying a swear word in there. It's going to automatically flag and take down those videos. And they showed an example last night of how it'll prompt the students, you use the word in your comment there that was inappropriate. Maybe you should change that there. I'm interested in seeing how that rolls out, because sometimes there are times, I'm thinking of like a high school literature class where sometimes those swear words and stuff like that relate to the topics we're reading about or writing about. So I think there might be times when it's appropriate. So I'm interested to see how that rolls out. It's not available to test out yet, but just in case you were worried about that. So there's the home feed. We talked about the group feed, pretty much similar, just drilled down into one particular group. We also, in our groups, now have this nice, or will have this nice topic view where we see our topics all stacked up there. By the way, I love the dark mode option that's there now. Over on the right, you could see a button to easily make a video for that group, for within that topic, right from there. So you just click it and launch right into there. Again, not yet, but at some point in the coming 6 months or so, this will appear for us. Group codes, the links to them when we send them out can be modified. I actually thought you used to be able to do this. This was surprising to me because I thought you could do that. But anyhow, you can now change the end part of the link. Instead of having just a series of letters and numbers, you can make it say your class's name or whatever to make it easy to get your students to there. So custom group links. The new playback feature is what I'm possibly most excited about here, because when I, as a teacher, have all of my students respond to a prompt in Flipgrid, I need to be able to watch those, right? And I need that to be a smooth watching process. And in the past, it was like, click this, click play, click this to get to the next video, click play, click this to get to the next video. They're making it better and better, and they have evolved that over the years. So now, as I said, the videos are kind of vertically stacked within the groups. You could scroll down to them. You can also, as you see the up and down buttons there, you can also use the arrow keys on your keyboard. So if you just need to go down to the next video, down arrow key will jump you down to it. So you can quickly get through your students' videos, and they can do that for each other's videos as well. And then the comments are right alongside it. So while we're watching, we could be commenting. And that efficiency piece is huge for me. Like if I don't have to watch the whole 2-minute video before I could start commenting to the kid, that's going to save me maybe 30 seconds per kid video. So really nice feature there too with the playback feature. Again, coming soon from Flip. Closed captions are automated in Flip. Teachers or the group manager, whoever led the group lead, used to be able to edit those closed captions. Students could not edit their own. Now, or whenever this update rolls out, we will be able to edit the closed captions as well. So you can go in there, your students can go in there and edit the closed captions on their videos. There's a member view now within the groups. There's always been something kind of like this, but they're really ramping this up. Now I could approve who's in my group. I could remove people from the group. I can add and invite people to the group. I could block people from the group. I can go in there and manage what students or teachers are a part of the groups that I run in Flip. They're adding a search tool. If I manage a lot of different classes and groups, I could use a search to easily find certain types of videos. So a nice way for me to be able to navigate around there and find stuff quickly within Flip. Again, that social media feel, right? Sounds a lot like a social media tool. The camera is going to be getting an upgrade as well. As you can see here, slick, again, very social media-like feel here. Full screen, no borders. I think it looks really nice. That menu on the side over there, when you click into it, you could see things we're familiar with already being in there, text and drawing and stickers and filters and frames and things, all stuff that's there, been there in the past, but now they're bringing this new camera design. A couple things that are new, they're bringing in a stock of video backdrops. We've been able to add videos in the background of Flip for a while, but now they have a set of really nice looking ones. In this one, the balls or bubbles or whatever those are actually are moving back and forth. So those are readily available there for us to use, or will be readily available for us to use. And these smart stickers, I think they're called, they'll be rolling out too. So this girl started a video about New Orleans, and it brought up all these smart stickers for her to add in. New Orleans, city in Louisiana, the population, a description, and things like that. So those are using Bing to pull in things that relate to the video, and our students can add quickly and easily good contextual information to it. Okay, they're adding in create mode in the camera, which will, we've always been able to let our students do videos that didn't have them on the screen, that could be just text or something like that, right? But now they're bringing in this special create mode, which really ramps that up and lets kids put in text and things like that. Kind of similar to what we've always been able to do, but it's ramping up that no face on video kind of thing. A couple more here. They're also rolling out localization, meaning where you're at or what language you have your phone set to will determine what language the app is in. First up is Spanish, coming very soon, and they said that others will come in the future. So that's not out yet, but soon your Spanish-speaking students will have access to a Spanish-speaking version of the app. And the last thing I think from Flip that I wanted to share here is that they're bringing in a sign language, an ASL filter into the camera that will either help you learn ASL, it'll give you the letter to show. It's all just with the letters right now. This is just the alphabet, and you can make that letter with your hand, and it will check to see if you're doing it correctly. Alternatively, what this video from on Twitter showed was that a student can type using ASL. So you can see she's making the sign for a lowercase d with her hand, and it determined it's a D, and it showed the D in the middle of the screen and added it in her text box up at the top. So students will also be able to use ASL to type, which is really cool for students who are trying to learn ASL, kind of a cool application to it. Okay, so this is not the Flip news brief, this is the EdTech news brief. So that was a lot of Flip related stuff, but there is some other stuff going on here at ISTE. Another one, I was hanging out with my friends at the Edpuzzle booth earlier, and my buddy Manny Curiel was telling me about Edpuzzle adding an option for students uploading videos to student projects. So in Edpuzzle, I could create a project for my students to watch and answer questions on. I could add videos from YouTube, which is what I do a lot of. I can also easily add them from, say, Screencast-O or from Write in Edpuzzle. I can also upload. So I have a video on my computer that I want to use. I can upload it into Edpuzzle and add those questions. Then they added in the ability for you to assign a project to students where they make their own Edpuzzle creations, but the students could only use YouTube videos. So now they're adding in the ability for students to add in uploaded videos too. So maybe they took a video, say in Flipgrid, downloaded it from Flipgrid, and then uploaded it into Edpuzzle. Can you tell, by the way, how hard it's going to be to switch over to saying Flip instead of Flipgrid? You're just going to have to appreciate or understand me saying Flipgrid. So here we see in add content on Edpuzzle, as we've always known, discover video content, upload a video, or record a video. And then down below there, something a lot of teachers probably were not using is student projects. This is where you assign your students to do their own Edpuzzle creation. Okay. Now when I do that, this all looks the same. Give it a subject, give it a goal, give it instructions. Over here now, I've got two options for video sources. One is find a video. It's kind of what was always there. And I don't think it was even an option because that's all you could do. The second now is upload a video. So if you want your students to upload a video there, they can. One application I see of this with this that I think would be really nice is maybe in a videography class or cinematography class where kids are making videos for projects. They could upload those here and then add in questions along through it to see what their classmates or their teacher think of certain parts of the Edpuzzle or of the video that they're creating. Next up, a very similar thing from a different tool here is Screencast-O-Matic. So Screencast-O-Matic, we know as a screen recording program, they have added in interactive video quizzes and polls as well. So they're kind of doing the Edpuzzle thing within their own tool. We saw Screencast-O do this about a year ago. Now Screencast-O-Matic has jumped on board and added in this interactive elements into their videos. Now, it's not available on all Screencast-O-Matic accounts, which is not surprising, but also was a little bit disappointing to me to hear that it's only on, as I put the asterisk up at the top there, the Solo Max EDU plans and the Team EDU plans. So if you're paying, or your school is paying for a Screencast-O-Matic account, you have this. If your school is not paying, or you're not paying, if you're on a free version, you don't have this. So you would maybe record and pop it into Edpuzzle or something like that. But as you can see there's some different options. As you play the video, it shows where the questions are. We could have multiple choice questions. We could have text-based questions. We could have these rating questions. I love that with the hearts there for clicking, right? And we could see what it looks like on the phone, how it kind of shows the video behind the question and kind of blurs out the video a little bit, or puts that a kind of overlay on it so you see the question without losing the video and not having to share the screen between the two things. I think it looks nice, right? There are 5 question types in there. Multiple choice, we saw there. True or false, we didn't see in that example, but pretty much the same as multiple choice, right? Short answer, we saw there. And poll, we didn't see a poll option there, but I assume that's an ungraded version of multiple choice, which is nice, which is something that Edpuzzle doesn't have, by the way. Edpuzzle has multiple choice, but you can't have it be an ungraded multiple choice question. So that's a nice feature here in Screencast-O-Matic. And then finally, rating, which I assume is what those 5 hearts on the previous screen were, was a rating. I wonder if you could change them to stars or anything like that too. I'm curious to see when I get to try it out. And this is directly from the blog here, because I was worried I wouldn't remember all this. You can randomize the order of questions. Okay, so that's good, which is interesting, right? For in a video, how will it randomize the order of, not questions. That makes more sense. Randomize the order of answers. So when they're going through the video, different kids see it in a different answer. Avoid some student honesty things, some student cheating things. You can make it so students can't skip questions. So you can allow that, or you can prevent it. Sometimes I do like to allow that because it lets the kids jump over certain parts of the video. Sometimes I don't want them to jump over part of the video, so I'd want to skip it. You can have it give automatic feedback on the correct response to tell them they're correct. You can capture additional open-ended answers, meaning I assume multiple answers if they want to give multiple answers. And then, of course, the important part, you could view individual and aggregate data for all those quizzes to learn all about that. Okay, and finally, down there at the bottom, you see for every quiz, you can view aggregated data, and then you can export this data for importing into a gradebook or further analysis. I normally find it's quicker for me to just type it and just put 2 tabs on my screen and type from one to the other, but if you got a really big class, you'd be able to export that and put that into your gradebook. So let's jump now into a couple things I mentioned yesterday, but because we were having some technical difficulties yesterday, we didn't have visuals for them. So we'll share them again here. So Loom has added transcription, which is huge, the accessibility that they're adding in here. So automatically, all plans, free plans even, your videos in Loom will be transcribed, not just ones you record today on, but ones you recorded years ago, all of a sudden will have transcription. So pick your oldest video in Loom, go into it, you'll find that there's now a transcript in there. Now, you'll also find that it's not 100% correct, at least I'm assuming, because it's automated, right? It's machine learning doing it in there. It's not going to hear every word perfectly. For example, when I say definitely, my phone always types deathly. I don't know, why does it do that? That's a really weird thing for it to do. I must need to pronounce definitely better. So anyhow, I could go in and fix those things in the Loom transcript. So they are editable. And again, even in the free plan, which is awesome, that accessibility they're adding in there. Next, in Loom, they've added an ability to stitch recordings together. So if you record one video and then another video the next day and you want them to be combined as one video, you could stitch them together and add those clips. So that's really nice for Loom users. And finally, yesterday we shared some updates about Mote, but I wanted to loop back to them. That loop's on the screen right there. I wanted to loop back to them since they are, things we didn't get to show on screen. So Mote announced Mote Loops, and what they're talking about here, at least I assume with the word loop, is a feedback loop. So you see John here from Mote gave a comment to his student as the teacher, and then the student now has the option. It tells whether the student has responded yet. So it creates a feedback loop when you give students feedback. Okay, so you give them the feedback or the prompt or a request to do something. The student then has to show that they've gone through the process of accepting that feedback. They really are prioritizing the effectiveness of feedback. Now, in this example, you can see that John did a text feedback. This will also be available with audio feedback. So John could have left an audio note, which is what Mote specializes in, and then it checks to see if the student's given that feedback. So here's what the student sees. they could choose one of these two options. I know what to do, or I may need help. That's for data tracking in there. So the teacher knows, did the student understand the feedback or not? And then the student can also add additional information. And I love they added this meme thing in here. So it gives the students a reward for saying that they understood the feedback, or at least it just gives a visual for whether they understood or not. And then they could, as I said, add in additional information. Now, all this is fine and great, but I think they're just adding to the feedback system up to that point. What really helps here is that then after the teacher has responded, then data is tracked on this. And I could see how often certain students said they knew what to do, or how often they said they needed help, or how often my whole class said they knew what to do or may need help. So it's really nice that now I could see, are certain pieces of feedback confusing, are certain assignments confusing, are certain students struggling with my feedback, do certain students need maybe a one-on-one in person? So this data piece is really nice in here. Now, this Mote Loops is available in beta. It's not out for everybody yet. You can request that beta and get access to this, so I'd recommend reaching out to Mote if you're interested, or going to that Twitter link that I have down there at the bottom of the screen to find it, to try it out. And I don't know if it's going to be free or paid. My guess is it's part of the free plan, but don't quote me on that, especially since it's in beta right now. But they're really trying to ramp up the effectiveness of those loops there. Okay, so we'll wrap up there because that's a lot of stuff. Tomorrow, I'm going to come back and join as long as Sam and Tom and Mac aren't frustrated and tired of me and want to get rid of me. And I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to talk about Canva. We're going to talk about Wakelet. We got another Flip thing that I didn't fit in there that relates to Wakelet. We're going to talk about Adobe Express. I think I've got a Microsoft Reflect thing, and I haven't shared anything Google, so maybe we'll have some Google stuff, but lots of stuff. I'll be wandering around trying to find all the information for you guys.
That's awesome. Appreciate that. I was actually paying quite close attention to everything that he was filming. I was like, what's our next video? Which one are we going to make videos about on the YouTube channel? And even like the one that stuck out to me was as I was thinking about the Mote feedback and just knowing when students are actually, saying they get it and they don't. And I'm thinking about that student that's like, yeah, I don't need help. Yeah, I don't need help. I get it. And then I get an assessment from them. And then it's like, okay, this assessment shows that, there's still some concepts that you're moving towards. And so, but let's look at this feedback that you gave me, and like having that it gives you that opportunity to have that conversation, because some students don't know that self-reflection piece, and like they don't know whether they get it or they don't, and you can actually even begin to build skills like that. But what were some of the one of the updates that kind of stood out to you, Sam?
I'm excited about Flip, the fact that they are making the commenting something that is school friendly, and doing that in a way where students can create and share videos, but do that in a space that's safe. So we're looking to bring, or I think we're often told, we should be bringing authentic creation tools into the classroom, but that quickly meets a challenge when you're trying to do that in environments that are not actually created with walled gardens. They're not set up to be able to use in education. So I'm excited that they're pushing the envelope in terms of video creation. Every time I turn around, there's something new and awesome about the Flip camera, and now to also have that be a more safe space where students can be sharing videos, and the teacher doesn't have to worry quite as much about trying to moderate, because that kind of a thing we know can be a barrier. So I'm excited for how that can continue to open up video creation, which is actually something that we talked about in some of the earlier programs that we had, just the importance of video and authentic learning. So kudos to Flip for doing that.
Right now.
Go ahead.
One thing that I liked about that too, that you're pointing out there, Sam, is you and I actually yesterday were talking about the idea of keeping kids, like feeling like we should keep kids away from technology, right? Because of the risks of having them on technology. Well, what if they post something bad? And doing something like this lets them post. Maybe they say the bad thing or type the bad thing, and then Flip is going to say to them, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. And it forces the kid to think about it. So it puts in that wall garden like you alluded to, but it also makes the student be in control of assessing what's best for them to do in that situation. So it really is growing more digitally responsible students, I think. And to your point about how great the camera is, I know my own kids are 12, 10, and 8 years old, and they're really interested in things like YouTube and social media and things like that. I don't let them on very much of it, but I kind of feel like they could start using Flip as almost like their own social media platform, and maybe I just connect them with family and friends, but they could start creating, and the camera's really slick. I think they'll enjoy it.
Yeah, it kind of gives that safer environment to explore some of those tools, but it doesn't feel like a stale educational tool that you don't want to really be on. So, well, if you can't get enough of Jake Miller, in addition to the Educational Duct Tape podcast, in addition to the EdTech News Brief podcast, he's also got a book by the name of Educational Duct Tape that he's promised to sign for me, and that I will be getting signed very soon, which is really the main reason we invited him on the show. But Sam has actually read Educational Duct Tape and wanted to say a little bit about it.
Well, he sent me a signed copy of the book a while ago. Yeah. Gonna get it now, Tom. So I talked a little bit about Jake's book on the show yesterday, and I just want to emphasize that if you are interested in learning about how to select tools for your classroom, that is literally the subtitle of Jake's book. It's all about strategically selecting tools to address a need that is aligned with the theme of Educational Duct Tape, which is his podcast on that exact topic, and now book on that topic. So if you're looking for solutions to problems, but also just proactive solutions, ways to build a more innovative 21st century classroom that truly prepares students for the society in which we live, essentially doing our jobs as educators, but also creating more joyful, engaging environments, look no further than Jake's book to find loads of ideas about very strategic, specific things you can do with technology and the tools that will allow you to do it. So I'm grateful to Jake, just like Tom mentioned, that he's always curating tools and helping us learn. We learn from Jake all the time about the newest updates and what we can do with them, how we can use them in powerful ways. So thanks, Jake, and we're looking forward to having you on tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And I enjoy, likewise, learning from you guys and being able to go like, okay, now I know what the basics are of these updates, and now I can go watch a new EdTech Classroom video to learn in detail how that works, how that operates. So I appreciate you guys, too.
Yeah, I laughed because the first page I opened up to and just pointed to Sam, it said Flipgrid, an app to check out. So I think this is less than a year old, so you got to get version 2 out already. So.